Good morning, Friendship United Methodist Church. I'd like to welcome you on this 4th of July weekend, 2023. Jesus said, "A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country." No wonder prophets speak to people on the part of God. What nation on earth, guys, has ever lived up to God's standards? None, honestly. Not us, not Israel, not any nation that has ever existed on earth. We need to remember that as we prepare to celebrate our grand national holiday this coming Tuesday. Our nation has been wonderfully blessed, friends. It seems somewhat impertinent for me to say I'm proud to be an American. It was an accident of birth. We could have been born in any other country in the world. I had nothing to do with it. And deep in my heart, however, I can say, I am grateful, very, very grateful to be a resident of this great country. Do you know that there are many citizens of this nation that do not know that the 4th of July celebrates the signing of the Declaration of Independence? Really? A lot of persons don't know that. Aren't we teaching that in schools anymore? There was a story in Quote magazine some time ago that tells it all. And it seems that in Vienna, Austria, American, French, British, and Russian soldiers shared jeeps for a military police duty. And one group of them used to kill time by telling jokes, and that seems to be an American thing. But all over it seems that we have jokes, pranks, and it's just part of being a human, And that is most of the Western nations, okay? Now, for the Russians, they remained sullen and silent throughout all the jokes that was going on. And one American asked, he says, "What's the matter with you, Ivan? Doesn't anything funny ever happen in Russia?" "Have you heard about the great canals in Russia?" said Ivan. "Yes," the American replied. "It must have been a hard job building those." "Exactly," Ivan said. "They were built by people who told jokes." Yeah. Ooh. Robert Orban says that the essence of America can be summed up in this exchange. A father told his son that all Americans belong to a privileged class. And the son said, "I disagree, Dad." And the father said, "That's the privilege." Yes, it is, friends. Is there anyone in this congregation this morning who is not grateful to have been born in such a land? Is there? You can tell me about it after the service if you want to. I'm thankful, friends, to be an American, even if it was an accident of birth. I'm thankful to be an American. And nevertheless, the 4th of July is a dangerous day. Not because of the fireworks or reckless driving or swimming accidents or anything such as that. It's a dangerous holiday because it can blind us to our real needs. Like the church in Laodicea in the book of Revelation, we can congratulate ourselves on being rich and be utterly blind to the poverty that surrounds us. I like the story of a Sunday school teacher who asked her class who the first man was. And the little boy raised his hands real quick and he said, "George Washington." And she informed him that the first man was Adam. And the boy responded, "Oh, well, I guess if you're speaking of foreigners, he was." Human progress did not begin with George Washington. And Washington, D.C., friends, is not the capital of the world. We've been blessed, and at our best, we have been a blessing. But there's a darker side to the American character just as well. Just as each of us have a darker side, and we all do. Ask the Native American, if you will. Ask the children of American slaves. Ask the descendants of indentured servants. Ask the homeless on the streets. Ask veterans that are not being treated as they should, and many of them are homeless on our streets. Billy Graham spoke at an Honor America Day service at the Lincoln Memorial years ago, and he told of a picture that once appeared on the front page of a Chicago newspaper, probably the Chicago Tribune. It didn't say that. And there was a picture of Betsy Ross sewing the first American flag. And over the picture was the caption, "Time to check our stitches." Time to check our stitches. And on this 4th of July weekend, friends, let us check our stitches. There are 3 temptations that continually confront the American people. And if you were standing up here this morning, you would list even more. Every pastor has a list, friends. Think of how different the list would be from Reverend Billy Graham compared to Reverend Joel Osteen. I have no political axe to grind, nothing like that. I would simply focus your attention on 3 persistent temptations. The first temptation is to enjoy the fruits of citizenship without tending the tree of liberty. Harry Emerson Fosdick preached a sermon years ago titled "Parking on Another Man's Nickel." Obviously, that sermon was preached many, many, many years ago. Where can you find a nickel parking meter today? The idea is still sound, however. I want you to know that. You come to a parking place that has a meter. Someone else has already inserted a coin into the meter, and they left, and happily there's still time on that meter, and this must be your lucky day, you think to yourself, and you pull in and park on someone else's nickel, quarter, or whatever. And Fosdick went on to say that some of us go all through life parking on someone else's nickel. Particularly is this true of us who are born in this free land. We take a lot of things for granted. Someone's already paid in blood, sweat, and tears for our parking place. The temptation is to enjoy our good fortune without taking responsibility for those who come after us. You may know the story about the recent immigrant who was describing this country to a friend, and his beautiful new print, the patriotic work, The Spirit of 1776. And he said, there are 3 men here, as you can see. He says, there are 3 men. And he says, one with a fife, one with a drum, and one with a headache. We want to enjoy the fife and the drum, the gaiety and the fireworks, if you will. We want to enjoy the fife and the drum, but not the headaches that go with citizenship. A father showed his son a copy of the Bill of Rights. "Remember, son," he said, "on the back of every right, there's a responsibility." And he's right. On the back of every right, there is a responsibility. Some, though not many of you, have lived through a Great Depression. I realize that. We're aged persons now. There's still some around, and some of you may be here today, and you know about being poor. Hey, I was raised in a poor neighborhood, guys. The late Sophia Tucker recalled the poverty into which she was born. "We were so poor," claimed Sophia, "my parents couldn't afford children. The lady next door had me." Some of you know about that kind of poverty, but in our family we always had shoes to wear. We had to wait our turn to wear them, but they were there, okay? But we had plenty to eat most of the time. We could walk the streets if we had streets in West Virginia where I was, but we could walk along the highways and here and there, and miles, without fear. Most of you will agree it was a different kind of poverty than America's poor know today, and I agree with that as well. Others of you have struggled to get where you are today. I know that. Many of us have. I fight poverty, says the license plate. And as a truck driver, I used to love to read these license plates and the stickers. I don't want them on my car, but I love to read them. I fight poverty, said the license plate. I work. But somehow you knew that your plight was only temporary. You knew there was hope. You were brought up with the American dream in your heart. And that's not true of many of America's children today. We have some various serious problems in the land of the free that do not bode well for our future, guys. Can you not sense that in the violence of our street gangs? Proliferation of hard drugs, fentanyl, road rage, senseless shootings, goes on and on and on. The disenchantment of the so-called working poor of today. We simply cannot have capitalism without compassion. We have to balance that out, guys. As George Bernard Shaw once wrote, the worst sin to our fellow creatures is to not hate them, but to be indifferent to them. The worst sin to our fellow creatures is not to hate them, but to be indifferent to them. That's the essence of inhumanity. The early church, friends, had such a powerful love for others that Luke records that abundant grace was upon them all. Abundant grace was upon them all, friends. They were experiencing the joy of serving, a joy that can't wear a price tag. Early in this century, Pastor Lewis Evans, a Presbyterian pastor in Hollywood, found this out on a trip when he went to visit his church's missionaries. And one stop found him in South Korea, where he was to meet a missionary surgeon. And the doctor had a successful surgeon. He was a successful surgeon in the United States before being called to missionary ministry in Korea. And on the day that Dr. Evans arrived, the missionary doctor was prepping for surgery on an 8-year-old child. The pastor watched through the window in a tiny hut where the operation was going on, and the operation lasted for nearly 3 hours. And after cleaning up, the doctor went outside to walk with Pastor Evans. And as they walked, Evans asked, "How much would you have received for that operation back in the States?" Now remember, this was several years ago. "Oh, $500 to $750 is the going rate, I guess." And as they talked, Evans noticed that the surgeon's lips were purple with the strain, and his hands were trembling from 3 hours of tedious work. And then he asked, "Well, how much for this one?" "Oh," the doctor replied, "a few cents. A few cents and the smile of God. A few cents and the smile of God." Wow. And then the doctor put his hands on Pastor Evans' shoulder, shook it lightly, and said, "But man, this is living. This is living, guys. Oh, help me live for others," says the old gospel song, "that I may live for thee." And this brings us to our final temptation, the privilege of citizenship without the price of civic responsibility. The bounty of capitalism without the bother of compassion. But there's one more. We want Christianity without conversion. We want Christianity without conversion. And please bear with me, I'm not talking about a particular kind of emotional experience. I'm talking about a level of intense commitment to Jesus Christ. We have a lot of people who believe in God, who believe in the divinity of Jesus, who believe in heaven, and every Gallup poll indicates this. But we have very few persons who want to take up the cross and follow him. I'm on a roll. We were on that last week, weren't we? How much difference does it make in your life to say, Jesus is Lord? Think about it. Does it affect your manners and your morals? Does it? What do people see in you? How do they view you? Does it keep in check your prejudices as well as your passions? Is the world a better place because Jesus died on the cross for you? Is the world a better place because you're a disciple for Jesus Christ? You are a disciple, aren't you, James? John? Yeah. Mary? Yeah. How much difference does it make in your life to say, Jesus is Lord? A businessman returned home one evening with a contract in his hand, and it provided him and his wife with an opportunity to make a lot of money. And in the quietness of the evening, he sat down and discussed the contract with her. He read it first, then passed it to her, and watched the expression on her face as she read it. He waited for her response, which was not long in coming. Tom, she said, you and I can't go into this. Well, why, he asked. Well, because of God. That was her answer. Yes, I know, said Tom. That's what I decided too. And so because of God, the contract was not signed. It was returned unsigned. And because of God, their lives had a boldness at a time when boldness was required. Can the same be said for you? And I love this. I love this, guys. Gals, are you ready? Tom brought the contract home to his wife. He had read it. He could have signed it. It was his job. But there was a marriage. There's two of them working together. What was hers was his. What was his was hers. Okay? It was a joint decision. Now I'll get on the subject of marriage. Man, Pastor Bob, why did you do that? You know, we need to communicate with one another just as we need to communicate with God, friends. You know, I know some guys, they throw up their hands. Well, why are you not going to do that? They'd be so mad, they'd just walk away. They'd go get a beer or bourbon and Coke, or bourbon and branch, some of them says, and just get it, and not even bother talking with their wife about it. Just be so upset about it, I'm glad to see them working together. I love this analogy. Former President Jimmy Carter will probably go down in history not as one of our most successful presidents. Only the most cynical persons, however, would doubt his commitment to Christ. As most of you know, he worked for Habitat for Humanity after the presidency, and for many, many years. And organizations of volunteers who help build and restore homes for the homeless. President Carter wrote, "There is great satisfaction in being able to make a difference." There's a great satisfaction in being able to make a difference for someone who needs help. Do you know someone that needs help? Do you? Are you there for them? Do they know that you are there for them? Can you work with them? Can you help them meet their needs? To help build a home for people who have never lived in a decent place, never dreamed of owning a home, and it can bring a lot of joy and an emotional response. One only has to have had the experience, to know what it means to the one who is giving time and energy, and to the one who is receiving the new home. Mm-hmm. It works both ways. Gives joy to the worker and joy to the receiver. Sometime after we began our work with Habitat for Humanity, Tom Hall, who had come to the international headquarters for a brief volunteer service, going to spend a summer there, ended up staying 5 years. Why do you keep on staying? And his answer was, I see the faces of those who have received homes. We've seen those faces too. They're overjoyed. Someday, we will understand the biblical injunction is true. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Let's not ignore the Bible teachings. We need them to keep this great land a land of the free. Something to think about on this 4th of July weekend, isn't it? Have you been enjoying the benefits of our society without the headaches of civic responsibility? Have you been enjoying Friendship United Methodist Church without the responsibility, there you go, Pastor Bob, of serving on committees? Yeah, don't go there. Don't go there. Okay? Are you one of those citizens who believe that we can have capitalism without compassion and Christianity without conversion? Friends, we have so much to be grateful for. We have even more to be committed to. It's not too late to get started. It's not. Let's live out our gratitude and at the same time ensure this gift of freedom for generations to come. And let us strive to make Friendship United Methodist Church a pillar of this community for years to come. It's up to you. It's up to you. God bless, and have a happy, happy, happy 4th of July. Amen.